Hello everybody, my name is Shirley Wiseman and today I am Aunt Sissy and today we're going to be baking with Aunt Sissy and I'm going to show you how to make banana bread. Actually what we're going to do is show the whole process from the beginning to the end. So when we're making banana bread, this is what I do actually. I save all my old bananas. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bananas. What I do is, obviously when you go to the store and you get your bananas, sometimes you can't eat them all. So these I just bought yesterday. After a while, when they start to get brown and they're just soft and you don't want to eat them, they're not real fresh, they get sweeter as they get softer. What I do is I put them in the refrigerator. You can also freeze them if you have a lot of bananas, and when I freeze them I peel them first and then they're just yellow and I stick them in a Ziploc gallon bag in the freezer hole and I just use them for smoothies later. But when to stop the process from getting too ripe, I put them in the refrigerator. So if I decide I'm going to make banana bread, now I've had these in my refrigerator for like a week, probably longer than a week. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, you see how many bananas you have and how much recipe we're going to need, and then we're going to grease our pans. So I figured that's about 3 bananas per recipe. This is actually baking in bulk. This is what I do. Whatever I got in the refrigerator, I make something out of it to try not to waste things, and I give it away. I can't eat it. I have to eat gluten-free, grain-free, dairy-free, and egg-free, which means I can't eat banana, not bread. But I can give it away. So that's what I usually do, give it to people, take it to work. So to start with, I'm greasing the pans, okay? So one recipe makes 1 loaf pan, or I have some mini pans. It will, I believe, 3 of these pans, this one's already greased and floured, 3 of these pans will equal 1 loaf pan. I also have some that are this size. They're a little bit smaller than this size. So about 4 of these makes 1 big loaf pan. So 4 of these, 3 of these, or 1 of these. Okay, so so that means I have 4. I have enough bananas for about 4 recipes. So I'm going to go ahead and grease my pans, get them ready to start with. So I take my pan and I use a paper towel. This is one of the small ones. Tear it in half. And I use, you can grease your pan. Some people spray them. I've always used lard. I like it. It's easy. So I got this big pail of it. So I just stick my little paper towel in there, put it in the pan, and I make sure it covers the sides and the bottom. And I don't know, you might be asking why I don't spray them. I don't know, maybe people learn from their mother. I don't know, this is how she always greased them, so maybe that's why. I'm not saying it's a better way to grease them, but I guess I don't like breathing that spray too either. So and I love to bake, but I must be honest, this is my least favorite. That didn't make sense. My least favorite part of it is greasing the pans and getting them ready. You know, that's just boring. Okay, so I've greased it. And now what we do is, I have this really cool trick. So you have to, I line the bottom of it with wax paper, and then I'm going to grease it, and then I flour the whole pan. That way, when you're done baking and you take it out to cool, then you put it out on your drying pan or your cooling rack, you can just take it and it slips right out, and then you just peel the wax paper off the bottom. So maybe some of you don't know, but I'm just going to show you that from the beginning to the end. I have this really cool trick. Well, it's not really a trick, but what I do is I take my wax paper, okay? You can just buy your local grocery store wax paper, and I tear it, I measure it to the length of the pan. So if you can see this, to the end of the pan, which is right there. So when I tear it off, it's about as wide as the pan. This is actually so you don't waste wax paper, and it fits really cool. So I figured out this trick where if I fold this 3 times, just fold it so you got it in triplets, and that fits the bottom of the pan pretty well. So you don't actually have to just cut all the way around it. This makes it really easy and saves paper, and you get more bang for your buck, whatever that is. So now, if you can see this too well, I don't have a video person videotaping, so I just cut the end off. So when I held this up to it, we were just a little bit, tiny bit long, so it means I measured just a little bit off. So I got that part off, and then you take this part and you just cut it where the creases are. Okay, and you'll end up with 3, and they don't have to be exact, but it's just something so it won't stick to the bottom of the pan. So you end up with 3 liners for your pans. Okay, and if you don't use them all at the same time, then you just save them for later, and I just keep them in my cupboard. So then I take it and put the wax paper in the bottom of the pan, and you don't really want it to go up the sides of the pan. It's harder to get the bread off of it, so you really just want to go to the bottom of the pan. So, and it may not be exact there, but that's pretty close. So then I will grease the bottom of the wax paper, which I've already got grease on my paper towel. Okay, grease that. Now we take a little bit of flour, and this part I really don't like because it goes around in the air, and I don't want to be breathing it, so I'm going to try to hold my breath. So I'm just going to tap it around. Can't really talk and hold your breath, so tap it so that it goes all the way around the edges. And I kind of do this over the flour bin here. And just tap and move. Okay, then I'm going to bang it a little bit and see how much more flour that loosens. Okay, so now we have our pan that's ready, our loaf pan ready to make banana bread. Now over here, if you can see them over there, but I've got 2 big loaf pans. I've got 4 this size and 3 this size. So I'm guessing it's going to be about that long for the bananas. So next, we're going to mash the bananas, and we're going to measure and make sure that my guesstimate was right. Okay, so actually I think what I'll do is I like to make my video short. So, well, we're going to do that, and then I'll come back with you in a little bit after I measure them. So we're going to take our bananas now. Now we got our pans ready, and I just peel them, and it's okay if they're brown. And some people freeze them. I used to freeze them too. I mean, sometimes I do. If it's going to be a long time before I can get to my banana bread. Now you see how it's brown, it's soft, it's smelly, but you know what? You're going to mash it up, and it's going to taste really good. The mushier and smellier they are and riper they are, the better the banana nut bread. So then the peelings, I just put them in my compost bucket, which I have a compost outside. So the recipe says 2 to 3. Bananas is like 1 1/4 cups of bananas. That's one recipe. So, and I get this whatever strings you got off. So I'm gonna start with 3. So I'm peeling them first. And like I said, this is something good to do if you just have leftover bananas and you just keep saving them. If you want, you can freeze them, and then you'll have to thaw them out and then peel them, and it gets to be kind of mushy. If you freeze them in the peelings, then they get really watery. They will turn totally brown, like these are totally brown, but they'll be very soft. These are actually kind of firm on the banana is kind of firm because they've been in the refrigerator, so it retards the process for it, the ripening process. So even though the skin turns brown, inside it's not real mushy. Okay, so I have my masher, which this is a newer one. I have an old-fashioned one too, but this one, I like that. It does well. It mashes the banana. So what I'm going to do is put this in my measuring cup and see if this is 1 1/4 cups, which is what the recipe calls for. And then I'll know how much. If you just have a few bananas, that's fine. But if you have a lot of bananas, I like to bake in bulk. And then I freeze these and give them away as gifts. I've sold them before at craft fairs and even at a stand along the side of the road. So, which is kind of fun to do if you have little young kids. You can do that. So I have a 2-cup measure. So we're going to just put this in and see how much we have, so we know whether to, because I'm thinking I can get 4 batches. and hopefully I'm right. This is just a guesstimate. So this we have 2 to 3. We have 3 actually. The recipe said 2 to 3 makes 1 1/4 cups. Let me get my glasses on and we'll see what we measured up to. So this is what we have. So I'm at 1 and it's about, I think this is about right. It's actually like 1 1/3, so that's a pretty good guess. Might be a little bit more, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll be back with you in a little bit, but I've got my, so now we know this is about right. So I'm going to mash up all these bananas, and then we're going to quadruple the recipe, so you do have to know a little bit of math. And then I'll get back with you and I'll show you all the ingredients actually, so you can be getting the ingredients ready. So we need some flour. I like to use just regular unbleached flour. Doesn't matter what brand. I just don't like the bleaching process that they do to make it even whiter and softer, but I try to get as healthy a brand as I can. Even though I'm not eating it for me, I am giving it away for gifts, but that's what I like. So unbleached flour, sugar. We need some sugar, and I got sugar in my container. You can use any brand. I just go with the cheapest brand, my local store brand. We're going to need some salt. I always will cut my recipes in half with the amount of salt. We're going to need some baking powder. We will need some milk, but I did not get milk at the grocery store, so I'm going to have almond milk. I've substituted almond milk before. It's going to taste good. The flavor, it's going to go really well with it anyway. So normally I use regular milk, even though I don't drink milk, but I can't have flour either. So, and I can't have eggs. Eggs is another ingredient in the recipe. It'll be 1 egg per recipe, 1 1/4 cups of milk, and then I don't remember. I think it's 1 1/2 teaspoons. I have to get my glasses on in a minute, but I'll be back with you in a minute once I get all my ingredients together. Also, then I'm going to add in, this is my little goodie bag. So I save leftover packages of, I've got coconut in here, and I've got some pecans and some chocolate chips. So this recipe is banana nut bread, and I will have some nuts. Usually put about a cup of nuts per recipe. But what I'm going to do is I have 4 recipes that I'm going to do all together. So I'm going to put 1 cup of nuts chopped up, and you can use walnuts or pecans, whatever kind of nuts you want to use. You don't have to put any nuts in it. Nuts will make the recipe a little bit drier. I'm also going to put a cup of coconut in it, and I use unsweetened coconut, which I'll show you that. I usually use, well, this one I buy online, but I don't like the kind you get in the grocery store because it's sweetened. This is desiccated. I'll show you. It's really fine here, and this is unsweetened. So I'm going to put a cup of that, and that also will dry out the recipe a little bit. So I want to make sure my recipe is moist, but I'm going to put 1 cup of the flaked coconut, or actually the shredded. It's shredded unsweetened coconut. 1 cup of the, I have pecans, so I'm going to chop them up, and I have this really handy dandy nut chopper over here, which used to be, it was my mother's, so I just put them in there, chop them up, and I kind of have to mix it up a little bit so it keeps chopping on the top of it. So 1 cup of nuts, chopped, 1 cup of the shredded coconut, and also I'm going to put a cup of chocolate chips in. Now you can put 1 cup of add-ins per recipe, and I'm going to have a 4 quadruple recipe, so I could put 2 cups of chocolate chips if I wanted. You know, the ones I have are dairy-free, but still I can't eat this recipe because we're having gluten in it, but I'm making them for everybody else. So whatever, if you want chocolate chips, carob chips, you could also put in raisins in your recipe, or some kind of dried fruit, or chopped up fruit. Well, you got bananas, that's going to make it mushy, so something that goes with it, but raisins would be good in it. I've done that before. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video for a minute while I get all my ingredients together, and then we'll bake it and put it in the oven. I'll show you the process of mixing all the ingredients together. All right, thank you for joining me. See you in just a little bit. Bye.